Hi, I'm Tanya and welcome to my channel Move with Tanya. In this video today we're going to be doing a Chaturanga free vinyasa style class. So if you've taken any of my other videos or if you've taken classes with me in person, you know that I offer a lot of options for people with hands or wrist pain. So a lot of mine are completely hands-free. In this video today we are going to be doing some dolphin pose. So dolphin pose is a great option for people who do have tender or sensitive hands or wrists. But if you are recovering from an injury and you've been instructed to not put any weight into your hands, this may not be the best option for you. Even though we'll be on our forearms, that will distribute some weight into our hands still. So just want to make sure that you're fully recovered before you try this. It is a great option just for anybody who needs to stay off of their hands or wrists just because of sensitivity and just don't like chaturangas or anything like that. So we'll be doing a similar modified sun salutation. So we'll be coming down onto our knees, opening our chest for a camel pose instead of the up dog. But then instead of making our way back to boat pose like I do in some of my other videos, we'll instead make our way into our dolphin pose. So we'll bring our forearms down to the ground and then we'll pop our hips up and back, finding ourselves in dolphin pose. So you shouldn't need any props for this class. If you like to have some blocks nearby, that's totally fine. We won't really need them, but you can always have them handy in case you want them. Other than that, just grab your mat and join me when you're ready. We'll get started in a child's pose today. So coming onto your mat, knees are spread nice and wide, toes can be together, and then just walk your hands forward and think about dropping your chest down onto your mat. You've got an option here. You can rest your chin on the mat or tuck your head and rest your forehead on the mat. Either one is fine. And while you're in your child's pose, just take a couple of breaths here, allowing yourself to arrive on your mat. Forget about the distractions that you might have for the day. And we'll take 3 more breaths here. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhale and exhale. And once more, inhale and exhale. Go ahead and crawl your fingertips over off the right of the mat. Maybe even stack your left hand on top of your right. And then think about sending your left hip back. So you get a nice side body stretch here. Again, take a nice breath in. And exhale. And then moving to the other side. Hands off the left side of the mat. Stack your right hand on top of your left. Send your right hip back and open up through the side of your right body. On the right side of your body, rather. Breathing here. Last breath. And then bring your hands back through the center, back into child's pose. Crawl those fingertips nice and long, nice long spine. Last breath here. Inhale. And exhale. Lock your hands in towards your knees. You can bring your knees together and we're going to do a little toe stretch here. So lifting your feet up, you're going to curl your toes under. So you want to make sure that you get all of your toes, including that little pinky toe, underneath. Nice, good foot stretch here. Ankles are going to want to splay nice and wide. Think about drawing them towards each other a little more so that you get a nice stretch on all of your toes. Hands can come down on your thighs. Go ahead and engage your core, lengthen through your spine. And you can sit here nice and tall, or if you want a little bit of movement, you can add some cat-cows in. So inhale, open the chest to the front, slide the shoulders back. You can draw the elbows back and look up. And then exhale, round the spine and tuck the chin. You can slide your hands towards your knees. Again, inhale, open the chest, look up. And exhale, round the spine, tuck the chin. And we'll go for 3, inhaling. And exhaling. And 2, inhale. And exhale, round. And last 1, inhale. And exhale, round and tuck. And then come back to a nice solid spine here. And then from here, just bring your forearms down onto the mat. You can interlace your hands and leave your pinky fingers long. And then release your toes. And then you're just gonna kind of lightly tap your feet on the mat. Help some blood to come back into the toes. All right, and from here, we're gonna make our way into a forearm plank. So firming into the shoulders, elbows are directly under the shoulders, broadening across the collarbones, and you're just gonna step your feet back and find a forearm plank. So check in with your hips. You don't want them too high. You don't want them dropping down low. You want them in line or slightly higher than your shoulders. We'll be here for 3, 2, 1. Nice and gently, go ahead and lower the hips down to the mat. We'll find a Sphinx pose. So release your toes so the tops of your feet are on the mat and release your hands. Readjust yourself so that, again, you've got your shoulders under your, elbows under your shoulders. Palms are face down on the mat, fingers are nice and wide, and then legs are nice and long. So a little bit of internal rotation here with the legs so that the top of the quads, top of the knees, and top of the feet are on the mat. Feet can be separated a little wider for sensitive backs. And then press the hips into the mat and almost try to pull yourself forward. So like you're trying to pull your chest through the gateway of your arms here. Gaze can be at the ground in front of your mat. And we'll be here for 3, 2, 1. Bringing the hands together, interlace the hands, pinky fingers along, and then you're just going to lift your hips up and walk your feet in, find your dolphin pose. So feet are hips width apart. Think about sending your chest through towards your legs, and you can have a bend in your knees. It's nice and early here. Don't need to overstretch the hamstrings. Release any tension that you might be holding in your head or neck. And we'll be here for 3, 2, 1. Knees down to the mat. Release your hands. Bring your hands to your hips. And then a little bit of a mobility challenge here. See if you can just pop back on your feet. And then forward fold for a ragdoll. So feet are hips width apart. Grab elbows. Release your head and neck. And if you want to, you can shake yes or no, or sway from side to side. Whatever feels good for you. We'll be here for 3, 2, 1. Release your hands down towards your mat and slowly roll up all the way up to standing. Once they're there, you can find the center of your mat, feet together, toes together, heels can be apart or touching, whatever is your preference. Lengthen through your spine. And if you'd like to set an intention for your practice or for your day, you can take a moment and do so now. All right, from here, we'll go ahead and get started with some modified sun salutation. So inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, fold forward, hands down towards the mat. Inhale, lift up halfway, flatten your back. And exhale, come down onto your knees. Either one leg at a time or together. Hands to your hips. Inhale, lengthen the spine, open the chest, little camel. Exhale, engage your core, realign your spine. Forearms are going to come down to the mat. Interlace your hands, leave those pinky fingers long so you've got a nice stable base. And then lift your hips up and back, dolphin pose. Chest goes through the gateway of your arms. A little bend in your knees is fine. Couple of breaths here for 3, 2, 1. Knees down to the mat. Release your hands to your hips. Hips sink back. And then again, that mobility challenge. See if you can just send your feet back, ankles to the mat, and then find your forward fold. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, stand up, arms sweep up. And exhale, hands to heart. Let's take a breath. Exhale, release. You need to find the center of the mat. You can again. We'll add on a little left side this time. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold forward, hands down to the mat. Inhale, lift up halfway, flatten your back. And exhale, knees down to the mat. Hands to your hips. Stack your hips over your knees. Open your chest, little camel pose. And then realign your spine, forearms down to the mat, pinkies are long, lift the hips up, dolphin pose. In your dolphin pose, you're gonna walk your feet back, find a forearm plank, and then walk them back in, back up, dolphin pose. Let's do that once more. Feet walk back, all the way down, forearm plank, and then walk them in, back up to dolphin pose. Hold here in your dolphin pose for 3, 2, 1. Knees down to the mat. Hands come to your hips. Lift the chest. And then lift your knees. Come up onto your feet. I felt that time it happened. Forward fold. See, even teacher falls. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, stand up. Arms sweep up. And exhale, hands to heart. Let's take a breath. Inhale. Exhale, release. We'll add on some flow. Chair pose to start this time. Bend the knees, drop the hips. Arms sweep up, gaze up. Inhale. Exhale, fold forward, hands down to the mat. Inhale, lift up halfway, flatten the back. And exhale, make your way down onto your knees. Hands to your hips. Inhale. Open the chest, little camel. Exhale, re-engage your spine. Align here, hands down to the mat. Lift the hips up and back, down dog. Let's take a breath here. I call this down dog, I'm sorry, dolphin pose. Inhale and exhale. Release the knees down to the mat. Bring your hands up to your hips. And you're gonna step this right foot forward and this left foot back, and you're gonna open the hips up, finding warrior 2. So adjust your stance as much as you need to. When you're ready, arms out to a T. Now that was a lot of work on your shoulders with that dolphin pose, so if your hands are feeling, your shoulders and your arms are feeling tired, you can bring your hands down to your hips. And then a little bit of hip traction here, so just inhale, a little straightening of the leg, and then exhale, bend again, nice and deeply. So just warming the hip, we'll do for 3, 2, and 1. One more breath here. And then making your way into side angle. So right forearm to your quad and left arm towards the front of your mat. Keep your left ribs rotating up and maybe gaze towards this extended hand. Breathing here nice and deeply. Last breath. And then moving to triangle pose. Straighten the legs. If you need to tick-tock this back leg in a little bit, you can. So the legs are straight, left hip lifts, and then we're just gonna rest the back of our right hand on our right leg here. Extend your left arm up towards the sky and gaze up. And you wanna think about your legs are scissoring towards each other as well as pressing down. So we're activating both the inside and the outside of the legs. Last breath. And then lifting up, returning to a warrior 2. And then dropping this left knee down, squaring off the hips. Hands can come to your waist. Right knee comes back to meet the left. Open the chest, little camel. And then realign your spine. Other side, left foot steps forward, right leg back, opening up to the other side of your mat, warrior 2. Hips are open. And again, hands can stay on your hips if they're feeling tired, or arms out, nice and long. Think about reaching forward to back here. And then that little hip traction, so straighten just a little bit, and then bend this left leg. And we'll do that for 3, and 2, and last 1, and then hold your warrior 2. Moving from here into side angle. Left hand to your quad. Right arm swings forward and around towards the front of your mat, and then rotate your right ribs up so that you're nice and open to the side here. Maybe gaze towards this extended right hand. Making sure that you're breathing. And then from here, making your way into triangle pose. So straighten your left leg. If you need to tick-tock this back leg in a little bit, you can. Right hip lifts, Left femur descends into the hip socket, and then left arm nice and long. Back of the hand just rests on your left leg. Right arm up, gazing up. Make sure you're breathing here. 2 more breaths. And then bending again into this left leg, coming back through warrior 2. And then right knee comes down to the mat. Square up the hips towards the front of your mat. Hands to your hips. Left knee steps back to meet it. Inhale, open the chest. Little camel pose. Exhale, realign your spine. Forearms down to the mat. Interlace your hands. Pinky fingers are long. And then lift the hips. Dolphin pose. Chest is leaning back towards your quads. We'll be here for 3, 2, 1. Knees down to the mat. Lift your chest. Hands towards your hips. And then shift your weight back onto your feet and fold forward. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees, drop the hips, chair pose. Inhale here. And exhale, stand up, hands to heart center. If you moved on your mat, just make your way back to the center of the mat. Let's take a breath together. Inhale. And exhale. Next flow, chair pose. Bend the knees, drop the hips. Reach the arms up. Inhale. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, lift up halfway, flatten your back. And exhale, bring your knees down to the mat. Hands to your hips. Open the chest. Inhale. Little camel. Exhale, realign the spine. Hands down to the mat, forearms down. Fingers interlaced, pinkies long, and lift the hips up and back. Dolphin pose. Let's take a breath here. Inhale. Exhale, release. Knees back down to the mat. Release your hands. Hands can come to your hips. Right foot steps forward and left leg back, finding a warrior 1. So your feet can be about hips width apart. You want to be thinking about your tailbone descending down towards the ground. So core is engaged, taking out this back bend that you might want to have here. And then arms can come overhead. Maybe blade the fingers, bring them together if that feels good. If not, shoulder width apart is perfect. Maybe gaze up for 3, 2, 1. Moving into a humble warrior. Leave your legs right where they are. You're just going to bring your arms long. You're going to reach forward, probably off your mat. Just reach nice and long. Release your head and neck down. So my hands are on the ground, but I'm not pushing any weight into them. They're just there, just reaching nice and long. 2 more breaths. And then coming back up to a warrior 1. Straighten the right leg, hands to your hips, and then you can pop your back leg in. My whole mat just shifted a little bit. Step your right foot back a little bit. We're getting set up for pyramid pose. So I want you to take notice where your hips are. So adjust your stance as much as you need to so that hips are nice and neutral. Lengthen your spine, inhale, and exhale, just hinge with a flat back, finding a pyramid pose. So once you're here, you can shift your weight forward and back until you feel like you're evenly distributing your weight into both legs. So right hip is drawing back and left hip is forward just a little bit. Hands can stay on your hips here to keep any pressure off of the hands. Last breath here. And then lift the chest back up, left knee down to the mat. Right knee comes back down and join it. Open the chest, little camel pose. And then back through neutral spine. And we're getting set up other side. Left foot forward, right leg back, warrior 1. So again, adjust your stance. Feet can be hip width apart. Left hip is drawing back. Tailbone is down. And arms can come up any amount that feels good for you. Maybe blade the fingers together and look up if that feels good. If not, just leave them shoulder width apart. Take a couple more breaths. We're here for 3, 2, 1. Keeping your legs right where they are. Just see if you can lean forward, finding a humble warrior 1. So arms are nice and long, kind of like Spider-Man fingers here. Release your head and neck. Pull the left hip back and release your head and neck down. Couple of breaths. For 3, 2, 1. Reaching the arms up nice and high. Back to warrior 1. Straighten the left leg. Hands can come to your hips, and then you can step this back leg in and shorten your stance a little bit. Make sure hips are nice and neutral. Hands to the hips. Inhale, lengthen. And exhale with a flat back, fold forward, pyramid pose. Once you're here again, shift your weight forward and back until you find those nice neutral hips. So if you were to put a book or something on your lower back here, it would be able to balance and stay right there. Couple more breaths. Last breath here. And then lift the shoulders back up. Bend the right knee down to the mat. Left knee steps back to meet it. Open the chest, camel pose. And then realign your spine. Interlace your hands. Forearms down to the mat. Pinky fingers long. And then hips up and back, dolphin pose. Breathing here in your dolphin for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Knees down to the mat, hips sink back towards your ankles. Lift your chest, hands to your hips, and then back all the way onto your feet, and then fold forward. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, stand up, arms sweep up, and exhale, hands to your heart, and then down by your side. Let's take a breath. Exhale, release. Finding the center of your mat again, and this time we're going to make our way into some balancing work. So we're going to start in a chair pose. So bend the knees, drop the hips, sweep the arms up, and look down. Make sure you can see the tips of your toes. From your chair, we're going to make our way into eagle pose. So right leg's going to lift up and come over left leg and squeeze everything together. And then right arm's going to come under left, eagle arms. You can also do hands to shoulders if eagle arms is a little tight. Wherever you're at, think about shoulders down and elbows lifting. If you have full eagle arms, then think about pulling your hands away from your face. One spot to gaze at. Last breath here. And then keeping your eagle arms, see if you can straighten your left leg. Lift your right leg up to about a 90 degrees. Flex that right foot. And then hinging forward, right leg comes behind you. See if you can find warrior 3 with eagle arms. Right foot stays flexed. Toes facing down towards the mat. You might need to drop your right hip a little bit so that it's even with your left. Last breath. And then with control, lifting back up nice and slow. Right leg comes forward, lifting it into the air. And then crossing it over your left, back in the eagle pose. One breath here, inhale. And exhale. Good job, release that, release your arms, release your legs. Let's find a mountain pose. Take a breath here, inhale. And exhale. And then we'll try the other side. So starting again, chair pose, bend the knees, drop the hips, arms come up, find some length in your spine, and then from your chair pose, you'll find that eagle pose. So left leg lifts up, crosses over your right, squeeze everything together, and then left arm under right. So either hands to shoulders or full eagle arms. Wherever you're at, drop your shoulders down, lift your elbows up, and pull your hands away from your face. Squeeze everything together here nice and tight. And then we'll move into that warrior 3. So straighten the right leg, lift the left leg. Flex the left foot. And then keeping the arms, you're going to hinge forward with control. Left leg comes back. Keep that left foot nice and flexed. Breathing here for 3, 2, 1. Coming back up, lifting the left knee back to standing, and then dropping it back over, back to eagle pose. Take a breath here, inhale, and exhale, release, and then releasing your hands, releasing your knees, coming back to mountain pose. Let's take a breath here. Exhale, release. Few more things left. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, fold forward, hands down to the mat. Inhale, lift and lengthen, flatten your back. And exhale, make your way down onto your knees, hands to your hips. So we've done quite a few little camel poses, inner flow. We're gonna take the time now to do like a full-on camel pose. So we'll take 2 of them. So if you'd like to, this first one, you can start with your toes curled under. Just provide you with a little bit more stability. Hands coming to your hips, and then a little bit of internal rotation. So thighs are engaged, and then making sure that they're pulling in towards your body as opposed to splaying out. So keeping your hips where they are, lengthen your spine, inhale, and exhale, kind of begin to unfurl your spine here, chasing the ceiling with your gaze. And if you'd like to, you can release your hands down towards your ankles. Keep your hips forward, and the back of your neck, back of your head is nice and long, or some people like to release it all the way back. I find that that hurts my neck, so I just stay right like this. We'll be here for 3, 2, 1. Lift the shoulders evenly. Use your core to help you. Hands to heart center, release your toes, and just send your hips back. So just here, it's our counter pose. Prepping like we would be prepping for a hero pose. We're not going into hero, just saying that's what your legs are like here. 1 more breath, and we'll do our second camel pose. So lifting the hips up. This time, if you want to, uncurl your toes and leave the tops of your feet on the mat. That's an option for you. You're gonna have a little less stability. So if you're feeling a little wobbly already, just curl those toes back under. Hands can come to your hips. Lengthen the chest, hips stay nice and forward. Open up, opening up through the upper chest, the shoulders. Camel pose, maybe again, release your hands down to your heels. If you found yourself shift back when you did that, shift the hips forward again. Breathe in here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Use your core to lift your shoulders up evenly at the same time. And then send your hips back again, rest on your feet. Couple of breaths here. Good job. Inhaling and exhaling. All right, lifting the hips, crossing the ankles, send your bum back and pull your legs through boat pose. So it's always good to follow up some back bending with a little bit of core work. It helps us just kind of to realign the spine, make sure everything's nice and safe before we move on. Last breath here, and then making our way into some cool down. So we've got Gomukasana plan. So that would be with both legs. So left leg under, right leg on top. I'll spin to face you. So you can have your knees stacked on top of each other with your feet flexed and out to the side. Now, if that is uncomfortable for you, you can extend your bottom leg. So in this case, it would be your left leg long, and then just the right leg would be up and over it. And if you feel like you still are not really finding a whole lot of comfort in this position, you can put your hips up on a block or a book to give you a little bit of lift. So wherever you're at, go ahead and lengthen through your spine. And then we'll just crawl our fingers forward. No hand bind today. If you want to take it, you can. Otherwise, chest down towards quads. And then release your head and neck. A few breaths here. Last breath. Walking the hands back in. And then unwinding the legs, and then just moving on to the other side. So right leg underneath this time, left leg stacked on top. Try to stack those knees, keep the feet flexed. If that's too much, then the bottom leg. So this time the right leg would come out long in front of you. Wherever you're at, lift and lengthen through your spine. And then hinge forward at the hips and walk your hands forward. Once you're there, you can release your chest onto your quads, release your head and neck down, and take a few breaths here. 2 breaths left. Walking the hands up, lift the chest, lift your knees, extend your legs, and we'll make our way onto our backs. So just sliding the way all the way onto your backs, and we'll take a supine twist. So make sure your spine is nice and long. Just pull your knees in so the knees are stacked over your hips, and we'll lay our legs down to the left to begin with. So both legs go over. Then once you're there, unwind your shoulders. Your right shoulder is going to want to come off the mat, but try and draw it back down. If this is too much, you can slide a block or support under your left knee. Arms can come out to the side, or you can cactus them. Pick your head up, turn it on its own axis, and turn to look away from your knees. So that would be to the right. Breathing here. Last breath. Unwind your head through center first. Use your core to bring your legs up through center. And then lay them down to the other side. So all the way over to the right. Once you're there, unwind your shoulders to the mat. Arms out to the side to a T or cactus the arms. Pick your head up, turn it on its own axis, and look to the left. So looking away from your knees. Breathing here. Two breaths left. And unwind your head through center. Use your core, bring your legs back up through to center. You can give your knees a little squeeze. If there's any final movements you want, and if you have time, you can take anything else that you need to feel like you have a complete practice. And when you're ready, make your way into Shavasana. So legs are nice and long. Spine is on the mat. Head is on the mat. Arms down by your sides. Palms face up. A little shimmy in your hips and your shoulders to make sure you're nice and supported and that you don't have any tension there. Just let your legs kind of flop open to the side. Doesn't have to be anything graceful about our Shavasana. Just nice, easy rest here. Take a deep cleansing breath in. And a nice relaxing breath out. And I encourage you to spend several moments here in your Shavasana. Embrace what it feels like to be relaxed, supported, peaceful, and still. And I'll leave you now so that you can enjoy your Shavasana. Until next time, namaste.